What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Prince and the Revolution, more from Purple Rain, and once again, as soon as I finish going through this album in audio form, I will do a watch-along for the film. Thank you again to Samantha. And we're up to the tune I Would Die For You, written in typical Prince song title form, meaning with the number 4 and the letter U. And yes, it certainly sounds devotional, and not only devotional, but willing to go to the extreme, willing to go to the ultimate extreme if it benefits the person in question, the object of the narrator's devotion and affection, likely. So, yeah, it feels like a very powerful emotional statement about his affinity for the person in question. Luca, there must be something about this record. She always is very curious about the scent of this record, which incidentally I got at I think this was one that I inherited from my sister's collection, but Tower Records, pretty famous and long-running shop and record distributor. There was one in the hometown that I grew up in, and I used to go to it many a day back in the day. So yes, when I see that little price sticker, I get a bit nostalgic, even though normally you try to take price stickers off. But thankfully, this one is on the shrink wrap, whereas sometimes record companies, or rather record shops, would put labels or price stickers right onto the sleeve. It's like, hey man, what are you doing there? In any case, I'll stop rambling. I would just say it sounds like a devotional sentiment, but it could not be a welcome one, meaning sometimes that level of intensity of devotion is maybe not something that is asked for by the person that it is directed towards. So it's hard to get a sense, and once again, when I watch the film, perhaps these songs will take on additional meanings in the context of that narrative. In any case, let's give it a listen. This is I Would Die For You by Prince and the Revolution from the 1984 soundtrack album for Purple Rain. I was pretty sure when that transition came between I Would Die For You and Baby I'm a Star that it was in fact a new tune, because I already have it now in a previous experience where it was like, wait, did that just transition? I was less certain in that earlier reaction. This time it seemed like a more overt shift, like rhythmically and in terms of the sonic atmosphere. I'll try to talk about I Would Die For You while that one is still in the relatively recent front of my memory. So, number one, it's another tune that seemed to mix his more standard, or not standard, but typical funky style with a bit of that new wave sound, especially that very rapid fire and electric sounding bass line, I think it was. That element, that sonic ingredient really stood out to me, and I enjoyed the energy of it. It had pace, as did Baby I'm a Star. But so then, vocally in that first track, I Would Die For You, Prince had a lot of these like non-lyrical vocalizations, whether, like woo or a sort of shout, and in some cases he was almost doing like like these little shuffling type of percussive type of vocals. So yeah, he was doing a lot beyond the main vocal line of the track in terms of these little flourishes and these little non-lyrical flares, which I very much enjoyed. So yeah, good vocals and good vocalizations. And I enjoyed, again, there was like a keyboard sound, but I think there was a guitar in the first track as well. And it's interesting because I feel like that thought I had right before I started the track was maybe more relevant than I expected. The idea that maybe this isn't a loving relationship. This isn't, someone professing their love to someone who's already their partner. I mean, he literally said, "I'm not your lover, I'm not your friend." And I thought there was a line even before that, like, "I treat you badly," or something like that. So I'm not quite sure what the dynamic is, but it does sound like I Would Die For You is less straight away than you might think just looking at the title. And it sounds like maybe it's unidirectional, not bidirectional. And at the very least, even if he is saying in the end, "I would lay down my life for you," it sounds like it's less clear in terms of what their connection is, what their actual relationship is, if they do have one. So, again, not even quite getting a sense for exactly what's happening. I do think it was sort of what I thought about right before I started the track, where it's not a more typical loving sentiment that you might get in a romance type song, where it's like, "Oh, I would die for you, you're my one and only, and you feel the same," and so on. It seems like it wasn't that. But as I said, I really enjoyed the funk meets new energy atmosphere of that track. So then Baby I'm a Star, I'm intrigued by the vocals because it sounds like it's something where he's almost trying to convince other people for what's going to happen. It's not necessarily current, but hey, you just watch, I'm gonna be a star, even though he's saying it in the present tense. But in a way, it almost sounds like he's trying to convince himself that, you have to believe it for it to be real. It's not just about accomplishment. It's not just about, sales or something like that. It's about a mindset, an attitude. And he even says, like, what I might be short on, even though I might be short on some things, I've got a lot of personality. Like he's trying to exude or express the quality of being a star as much as it is, a perception by other people on the outside, or again, some sort of quantitative assessment of the degree to which he's a star. But he certainly sounds confident. He certainly believes that it's going to happen, and that there'll be a time when you can look back on what he's saying now and it's like, oh, he was preaching truth. He really is a star. And I did notice on the back of the record here that "Baby I'm a Star" is written in sort of billboard style lights, like it's on a marquee somewhere. So I like the, textual or graphical representation of the theme of the song. And yeah, this is another one, very upbeat, very up-tempo. It had a bit more, I would say, straight-away funk sounds to me, meaning it didn't quite have as much of that like new wave feel as I got in, I suppose, both "When Doves Cry" and "I Would Die For You." But definitely there were some moments where I heard some nice keyboard lines, and in particular there was this extended, almost like ghostly kind of electric synth, maybe like an organ chord just held for long stretches. And that particular sonic ingredient I thought was great. That was maybe my favorite part. And I didn't notice it throughout the track. It was prominent in a couple places, but when it was there, it really stood out. And I thought that was great. And I do believe there were maybe some more female vocals in support on this one, like behind Prince's actual vocals, though I do think he was also doing some more of those vocalizations. And in both tracks, he had some moments where he really had these shouty, raspy type of vocal moments. So that was great too. I like when he just lets it fly, so to speak. So yeah, great vocal variety over the course of both of the tunes. It does seem, again, not unlike that previous duo of tunes, where this one it's almost meant to be a medley, just one literally leads right into the second track, so given that there wasn't a proper pause. Now, at the end of Baby I'm a Star, it sounded like there was a live audience cheering it. Now, of course, that could just be done for the atmosphere of the track, for like a sonic styling, and it wasn't that it was necessarily recorded live. But I do wonder whether that could relate to the narrative of the film, and maybe this is a track that like he's singing on stage in the film. So again, I'll have to see. I'm sure people will comment, but yeah, as I said, it seemed like a deliberate medley in this case, or I don't know. I guess it depends on what you mean by medley. Sometimes it's like song, two parts of or parts of two different songs are going back and forth. In one case, it's sort of like there's a transitional segment. I'm thinking of Soft Cell's Tainted Love, Where Did Our Love Go?, where there's like this long transition where it kind of sounds like both tunes. But this one, it was like the moment of the last bar of I Would Die For You was the first bar of Baby I'm a Star. So in any case, we only have one left to go. That's the title track, Purple Rain. Looking forward to that. And then as I said, in the coming days and maybe a couple weeks after we finish that, we will indeed do the watch along, which probably will have to be on my Patreon. I'll try to post it here on YouTube, but I'm guessing it's going to get blocked. So if that's the case, I'll put it up publicly on my Patreon. Do let me know what you think of this. And Luca, I apologize, but you are going to have to get up now. Begrudgingly, she agrees. I will see you next time. Peace.